episode of A Curious Couple, the podcast dedicated to fostering an active and healthy sense of curiosity. As we grow up, many of us lose the wonder of childhood. But in asking questions and keeping an open mind, we renew that wondrous excitement for life.
Yeah.
I'm Angie.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are a curious couple. And today, we want to give a different perspective on something that has been dominating the public discussion, the socials, the news, everything for the past few weeks.
Everyone has an opinion on it, and everyone is always right.
Are they? And we're not right.
No, we're not trying to be right. We just want to give a different perspective.
We're just curious.
Yeah.
So today we're diving into Bacchus. Is that how you say it correctly?
Bacchus, yeah.
Bacchus, Dionysus, the Last Supper, and the controversy surrounding the recent recreation of the Last Supper with drag queens during the Paris Olympic opening ceremonies.
It's
2024.
It's gonna be fun. So yeah, we've seen all the debate online. We've seen the backbiting. Should you be offended? Was it meant disrespectfully? Who knows? But it got us curious. It is French, so that needs to be taken into account. The French do not care.
And I love them.
They were literally planning a nationwide poop in the river day to protest the Olympics. If you didn't see that, you missed some golden fun.
I love the French.
Yeah.
I want to be French.
So anyways, we dove into these topics and we just want to share what we found because it was pretty fetching fascinating.
It was really interesting.
To be honest.
But before we get into that, we need to follow up on last week's episode. And last week was all about the moon. Beautiful goddess, celestial being that she is.
Oh, she's wonderful.
The challenge was to observe the moon, feel her presence, and even see what influences she has on your subconscious.
Yeah.
Which is great because we're filming this literally on Lion's Gate in a new moon.
New moon is right now. It's happening. Technically, it's at like 7:15 tomorrow morning. But
it is right now.
I know, but just to be precise, it is late in the evening. We're actually free of all distractions. We're recording for the first time somewhere not at our house. We are at my family cabin up near Causey Dam. It's beautiful up here, guys.
It's really beautiful.
It's beautiful.
We saw moose today.
So many moose in.
And turkeys. You said mooses. I was going to say turkins.
Turkins. We've seen so much wildlife. It's been so fun.
And deer.
Yeah, so many deer.
The cutest animals that have walked this earth.
The moose we saw today was a bull moose, and he had just no cares in the world.
None.
We pulled up on this loud ATV, and he was just like, I'm eating my leaves. Like, you do what you do. I'm just going to eat my leaves. Anyways, following up on last week's challenge, I hope that you've taken a look at the moon.
The moon.
Hopefully you are not seeing her tonight because it's a new moon and she's...
So if you're seeing her, be concerned.
Yeah. It's really dark here tonight. It's really like overcast.
Yeah, it was really rainy.
So there's not even stars out, which you can usually see the stars really well out here.
Pitch black, which is slightly terrifying.
Wonderful.
Feels like an episode, or not an episode. What is that movie? John Krasinski, A Quiet Place.
Ah, yeah, that is a scary film. Mm-hmm. That was a good film.
It's a great film.
Yes. Anyways, so the moon. Hopefully you paid attention. You noticed her presence. I was pretty excited. I had my first lucid dreaming experiences. Mm-hmm. Angie says this might be a weird topic for most of you. So I won't get into it too much.
No. It's not that it's tricky. It's tricky.
I'm fascinated by the dream state because I'm a firm believer that we know what we need to know. We just tell ourselves we don't know it, but it's in the subconscious. So if you can access the subconscious through a dream state and actively ask it questions,
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Anyways, so I had my first lucid dream experience, which is pretty hard for me because I struggle just to even remember that I have dreams. Like I'll wake up with every intention of like, what was my last dream? And it's just like, nothing. So this is a big deal. I have been doing reality checks. I don't know if we've talked about reality checks. Maybe a little bit.
If you don't know what a reality check is, it's basically these little things that you can do in your waking state while you're in this reality to see if you're dreaming or if you're experiencing things in real time.
Yeah, it's like that pinch me, I must be dreaming idea. Yeah. But other reality checks are like to plug your nose and try and breathe. The one that got me is you pull your finger and see if you can make your finger like extend, elongate it. That's what cued me in. And then putting your finger through your palm is another one. You can jump with the intent to fly. The hard thing with these reality checks is you have to do them in your waking life, because most people dream about what they do in their day-to-day life. Right. And so if you're doing the reality checks in your waking life, then you'll naturally do them in your subconscious dream state.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, if you do these reality checks while you're dreaming, if you're in a dream state, like if you plug your nose while you're in a dream state
and try and breathe,
you're going to be just fine. You're going to continue to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're in a wake state, in your conscious state, I should say, then, well...
You obviously can't breathe while your nose is plugged and your mouth is shut.
Exactly.
So, yeah, just little things like that. But as soon as you realize you're in a lucid dream, you have the ability to change the dream and do whatever you want in the dream. Mm-hmm. So I instantly started flying, and it was wonderful.
Because who wouldn't want to fly?
Yes. So anyways, hopefully you enjoyed the moon.
Thing on it, on the good place. Everybody wants to fly.
But it's set up as torture. Oh, we love the good place. Anyways, yeah, hopefully you've... had success with your moon endeavors. The moon is fetching powerful.
The moon is fetching powerful. Put that on a bumper sticker.
Probably is a bumper sticker. Okay, we're going to dive into the meat of this. We're going to just get right into it.
Yep, go.
The depiction and painting of the Last Supper is something that we all know. Like literally me just saying the Last Supper.
It's like saying the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
You see it in your brain.
Instantly, you have that image come to your mind.
The painting of the Last Supper.
Yeah, and the thing that has just fascinated me by this is this painting has been recreated so many times.
Over and over and over.
I couldn't even tell you all the times. Like, do a quick Google search and see 300 results plus.
Yeah.
Like, I know The Simpsons have done it. I know they've done it on Family Guy. I know they've done it on The Sopranos.
Did they do it on Arrested Development?
Probably. Like, it's done so often.
Yeah.
And so it's so funny to me that this is the time that as a collective society, we have erupted as this being disrespectful and untoward, when so many mature and graphically violent and adult humor has depicted this.
Yeah.
Offensive adult humor. South Park is like they're on the edge of acceptable in 99% of their time. So yeah, we wanted to look into it. I've even been in a tableau of this. A tableau. A living image. I learned that phrase from the Fantastics.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Do theater. You learn fun words.
Fun words. No, I was in the musical Jesus Christ Superstar. Such a fantastic experience.
Also,
highly recommend.
Interesting, controversial show in and of itself.
Yes, which is so funny because it is literally nothing but respectful, but it has rock and roll.
It has rock and roll.
The devil's music.
Is it?
Is it? It came out in the 60s. It was pretty,
Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah, you know, him and his...
Stick to your cats and your phantoms. Don't touch the...
And School of Rock.
School of Rock.
How did he write School of Rock, the musical? What a joke.
Excuse you. It's a fantastic musical. I resent that.
No, but all I'm saying is he has all these, like, original ideas, and then he does a musical off of a movie, and it's, like,
still
his redemption.
The worst one is, like, the sequel of his musical.
Oh, and Bad Cinderella. He did that.
We don't talk about Bad Cinderella.
It was bad. Spoiler. I never saw it, but everyone hated it.
Everyone...
Guys, we're in the age of Aquarius. Things have changed. Celebrity has changed. Art has changed. Things have changed.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
We can discuss... Maybe we'll just do an episode all on Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals.
That would be hecka fun.
Because there's such a wide variety and...
A broad spectrum, if you will.
And Bad Cinderella is just the worst because it's just so apparent. Like, this is written by a 70-year-old white man. Trying
about feminine power.
Trying to be like, oh, girls are cool.
You go, girl boss.
You go, girl boss. What a female CEO this is.
And he's lived like nothing but luxury and pleasure and privilege for decades.
Okay. I'm sorry. No, I'm just.
We digress.
We digress.
We're not theater people.
Okay, this image. So many layers to this. It is one of the most famous pieces of art ever created by one of the most incredible painters that has ever walked this earth.
Literally.
The imagery behind it, especially for those who are of Christian belief, it is such an important moment in Christ's story, and it's foreboding, and there's so much symbolism in everyone that's there, especially if you know the story, so you can point out where Judas is. And it's in that moment of Christ says, one of you will betray me. Mm-hmm. And it's is it I? Is it I?
Yep, that uproar of, who might it be?
That? And then you can look over at Judas and he's just like,
Right? Which is funny because knowing what I know now, I was in the wrong place in the tableau. They placed me in like the 4th slot.
Yeah.
And that's not where Judas is.
Yeah, but you know what? When you're in theater...
It's all about image.
No, you know what? Your job is to do the director's vision.
Yes, it was wonderful. But I'm just thinking of that now because I was on the right side of Greg, who played Jesus. Mm-hmm. And that's not where Judas is.
No.
Anyways.
But it also can signify a final gathering, giving or foreboding feeling that not all present will be in attendance of subsequent gatherings. It signifies peace, love, the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
It's the last moment of peace in Christ's life before literal death and then rebirth and resurrection. And it is the calm before the storm. So it is a beautiful... And again, if you haven't seen the painting, I'm sure you have. You
would be living under a rock if you haven't seen this painting.
Or just not in the public school system. Actually, I don't think I actually saw it. I saw it in like an art history class.
Yeah, I don't think they would talk about this in public school. Not in like the base layers. You would have to be... Anyhow, I really like this painting too. I like it because it's changed for me over time. Like the meaning behind it for me personally has changed as I've gone through my own journey of life. At first, I remember it mostly being just a picture of Christ, and it's like, oh, that's neat. But I grew up surrounded by pictures of Christ.
Yeah,
they were everywhere, and so they were all just what they were. And the first time I remember looking at it with a different lens was when the Da Vinci Code blew up several years ago. It just got insanely popular, insanely quick.
Wait a minute. Tom Hanks...
is in the movie.
He's in the movie.
Yeah, but it's a book.
Right. No, I'm just trying to think. No, it's Tom Cruise who's Scientologist.
Yes. Yeah, Tom Cruise is a Scientologist.
Yeah, that would have been... If they had put Tom Cruise in there...
We need another episode on Scientology. That would be fascinating. I have not delved into that. I've just had the surface levels.
Let's not.
I want to know what it is. They believe in aliens. But I believe it. Anyways. Okay, so it's changed for me. But when the Da Vinci Code really blew up in popular... in the public mind, when it got when it got so famous. I've never read the book, so excuse me if I'm oversimplifying, but I remember hearing as people around me discussed it that the evidence that Christ was married, that he had a wife, is in the Last Supper painting, because the figure immediately to his right is very feminine in qualities and characteristics, and they are. Yeah, I mean, it's not like this busty gal, but the rest have beards and also masculine features.
Jewish.
Yeah. So. Anyway, very feminine figure.
How busty are they going to get out in their Jewish garb?
During the Roman, yeah. Oh, man. So anyways, really got me looking at like, oh, is there more to this image than meets the eye? Like, is there... other things that might be here?
Well, exactly. And it's not like we can just, email the painter and be like, hey, what did you mean? What did you mean by painting this figure this way?
Right.
Or, just time travel and be like, yo, guys, hey, I know you're all sitting for dinner and like life's going to get real crazy real quick. But can you just let us know? Like, are you guys married? This is the thing. Is he a dude or is that a girl? I can't tell.
Hey, I hear they have a time machine in the basement of the Vatican, so
Yeah.
for remote viewing. So, they could go see it. I got to look up what that thing's called again.
But it does. It makes you wonder. There must be more than meets the eye when it comes to this painting and this depiction, especially because the Bible is such a beautiful book of interpretation. And there's so much that you can learn and gain from this. Let's dive into it a little bit. Like, especially Renaissance art is a whole other level of just seven layer bean dip.
I was thinking cake and you said bean dip. Of course you said bean dip.
You gotta get a chip, you gotta get all the way down. There's too many layers.
Gotta hit the bottom of the pan before it's any good. No, I think of the Sistine Chapel.
Yes.
And the image of the creation of man. Uh-huh. Another image, which I'm sure, if you haven't seen that, it's the image of God reaching from the heavens with his finger to touch the tip of Adam's finger. Mm-hmm. And clearly God is a human brain.
Yeah. When
you look at it, it's like the cross section of a human brain in how he's wrapped up in this red cloth and the angels are holding him back. And there's secret meaning here, right? That's not the only meaning of that picture. No. But the Renaissance came at a time back in antiquity, or like the ancient days, the pagans, the crazies, whatever you want to,
Shakespeare.
Yeah. Religion, science, math, art, it was all interdependent. It was all coexistent of each other. It was different facets of one thing. And that has really changed today. They are all very segregated, independent forms, schools of thought. You can't be artistic and scientific. You can't be religious and scientific.
How can we put you in a box if you have more than one niche?
Yeah, like you literally are like, no, we didn't come from monkeys. Evolution is a lie. And it's like, oh, okay.
Dinosaurs aren't real.
Yeah, okay.
But there's this like really big skeleton. Nope, not a thing.
Not a thing.
Not a thing.
The thing with all of this, though, is this Renaissance art came at a time when the church was in its full power.
Absolutely.
It was in its full power. And if you said or did anything against the church, you were dead.
Yeah.
You were dead. You just couldn't go against the church. And so what these masters would do, these artists like Da Vinci, they hid things in their works of art.
Yes.
They left breadcrumbs. And that's what, I know it's another trigger word, but that's what the occult is. It is these hidden breadcrumbs left by people that had learned the science, the religion, the art, the math, the music, all the elements. And they left breadcrumbs in their works of art. I mean, that's what Masonry is. Freemasonry, what it claims to be, is these secrets were hidden in buildings. These same secrets that they couldn't share, they hid in their architecture. So it's out there. It's definitely there.
It is. If Disney animators can hide things in Disney films, you really don't think that these ancient philosophical artists weren't putting any kind of messages. Even I'm a low-key artist myself.
Oh.
So, and there's so much imagery and just meaning behind just the simplest designs even. I think it's just how artistic minds work is, yes, you're creating image, but there is energy, there is meaning behind whatever you're creating. So I think with these, I personally believed, enlightened artists, especially in the Renaissance, they had these deeper messages they wanted to convey and wanted to serve humankind for millennia. So, because I have hidden Mickeys in all my artwork, but no one can see them.
No, but it's true. It's so true. And the cool thing about imagery and symbolism in artwork is it's layered. The deeper you dive and pull away that onion, the 7-layer bean dip, the deeper you get into the bean dip, the more there is for it.
Yeah.
I mean, we obviously do tarot and look at the tarot cards.
Yeah.
You think you understand the symbolism of the tarot, and then something clicks, a perspective changes, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's more to that image. It's not just a crawfish like in the moon card.
Exactly. And the other thing is, we're only two brains here. If you showed these cards or this painting to another human being, they have their own life experiences, their own knowledge, their own levels of study that they have, and they're going to be able to interpret it in a completely different way, that's the beauty of art and imagery and color, in my opinion. But the truly fascinating thing, especially with this Renaissance period being very powerful within the church, and just kind of the church controlling everything, there's a massive pendulum swing here, where we kind of mentioned it before, where nowadays it's one or the other. You can't believe in both science and religion. It's one or the other. And it's so interesting with like science specifically. Our world has turned into science is almost the new, not Scientology, but like science is the new religion. If you can't see it, taste it, or smell, if you can't sense it with your senses, then it can't be real. If you can't prove it, it can't be real. And where we live in this beautiful age of knowledge and technology and mass communication, it is kind of crazy to be, I guess, woo-woo about it and believe in the spiritual realm of things, because you can't claim to scientifically prove these things.
In what I've been researching, and if you look back at our meditation video, so much of this is beyond the senses. You have to leave the body in order to perceive these things. I'm just thinking of energies and auras and vibes, like whatever you want to call it. There's it's out there. It's
funny because you know what? You can scientifically prove that people can believe and sense these things, but you can't scientifically pinpoint a good vibe.
Yeah. I mean, go look into the gateway experience, people, if you want the science.
But you can, because we can sense what's happening with the human body, and the human body understands when there is something good happening rather than subconsciously having bad feelings about it. If we could have a lie detector, we can find woo-woo energy.
Seriously, like you walk into a room and you feel the energy.
You're like, oh.
That's what it is.
Oh.
You're like, oh, someone was just having a fight and I walked in the middle of this. Or, oh my gosh, these people are euphoric. You feel it. Okay, let's get back into the painting here.
Back to the painting. Last Supper.
Yeah, I really want to talk about the Last Supper. But to understand this different perspective, we need to draw some parallels first.
Yes.
Because without these parallels, I mean, we could tell you what we think the image is saying, but you'd be like, whatever, moving on. So let's draw the parallels first, and then you can get to your own conclusions.
Yes, so parallels.
So to understand the hidden meanings in this piece of art, we really have to first draw some parallels from the sun that rises and falls each day in the sky and Christ, or the Son of God. Literally both called the sun. So there's parallel one.
Boom. Then I'm going to continue this on with Christmas.
Chrysler.
Chrysler. Stop it.
We celebrate Christmas so you can say that.
That's all.
That's what it's for.
Because, I mean, Halloween is my time, but I do love Christmas.
Yeah.
I do love Christmas. The energy, the spirit, the idea of doing good for other people. It's just a unifying energy, which is very beautiful.
Talk about a vibe.
Yeah. The Christmas vibe do be popping. Let's say that. In the Christian world, Christmas is the celebration of Christ's birth.
Yep.
And this is on the 25th of December every year. Unlike Easter, which is the celebration of his resurrection. Unlike Easter, the holiday is celebrated in accordance to lunar phases.
Wait.
Yes.
Easter is celebrated in accordance to lunar phases.
Yes, because Christmas happens every 25th. Easter changes according to the moon.
Yeah, it's moon cycle based.
It's moon cycle based.
Yeah, and what's interesting about the date in particular, the December 25th, is the behavior of the sun leading up to Christmas. So in the Northern Hemisphere, December is obviously the winter time. Okay, the sun is basically defeated, we could say. Right? It's not shining its brightest. The days are shorter. The nights are colder. The sun is in its weaker element. And so as we move from summer to fall and subsequently from fall into winter, the days slowly get shorter and shorter. The weather is colder. And even living nature just dies all around us.
Or sleeps.
Yeah, but it's perceived to be dead, right? The leaves fall, everything's barren, everything's cold. Now, the 3 days preceding the 25th, for 3 days, that's a weird number, right? Wasn't Christ dead for 3 days? The sun remains at the same spot in the sky. It doesn't get any higher. It just bounces up to this same spot for 3 days. And then on the 25th, it actually breaks that cycle and it begins its ascent and its slow climb in the sky to summer, to life, to renewal, to energy, to rebirth. The fact that we celebrate Christ's birth on the 25th, and this is why you hear people talking about like, it was a pagan holiday. It was. It was a pagan holiday. It was not Christ's birth, but it was whatever sun deity, their birth. It was...
Like Dionysus?
Yeah, Dionysus wasn't the sun god per se, but he definitely embodies
a lot of
sun
Christ.
worship. Yeah.
He has a lot of Christ-like attributes.
Yeah. Okay, parallel number 2.
So Christ was born of the Virgin Mary, right? Mm-hmm. The sun reaches its peak during the vernal equinox, during the astrological sign of Virgo, the Virgin.
Weird.
Whoa! When the sun is in its sign, the sign is lost to the brightness of the sun.
Yeah. Isn't that incredible? When the sun is literally climbing at its highest points, it's born of the Virgin. I just can't, people. There's other symbolism with the zodiac and the placements of the sun. Mm-hmm. Like when it's in Leo, that's the sun's element.
Yes.
Going back to Freemasonry, they talk about the paw of the lion. If you're familiar with that reference, we won't get into it here. Resurrected through the paw of the lion. Anyways, it's fascinating.
Parallel 3.
Parallel number 3. Christ was betrayed by Judas Iscariot. Okay. Judas is the personification of the sign Scorpio.
Ooh, mom's going to love that.
It is, though. But I know my mom's a Scorpio. Scorpio is a fascinating sign. Scorpio is probably the sign that gets the most heat.
Which is so unfair. I want to be a Scorpio so bad.
But it's because it is very dual-natured. Yeah. A scorpion, very toxic. One of the most lethally toxic creatures. And it's so small is the thing. I mean, there's giant scorpions, too. But the small ones are terrifying. Scorpions? Yeah. Not here. Not in Utah. But, around the world. The scorpion's fascinating. It symbolizes rebirth, regeneration. It can shed its skin. It's the subconscious. It's darker. It's, more foreboding. The thing with Scorpio, though, is Scorpio comes in late October and runs through late November, which is when, the sun starts to weaken and goes into the fall and, more sun parallels.
Into our more fall-like.
Yeah.
Well, not even fall, more into the fall.
It's the end of fall. Yeah. It's, your end of October, beginning of November. You could have snow by then. In Utah, anyways. But Scorpio is, again, fascinating. Scorpio has a couple different signs. Scorpio is the scorpion, obviously. Right. It can also be a snake and an eagle.
Did you know the eagles go through a transformation phase?
Yeah, look this up. Holy crap.
It's so crazy. So eagles can live for a very long time.
Like 80 years.
80 years.
In the wild.
In the wild.
Not in captivity.
Yes. So go to Alaska and see some eagles. But here's the thing. So around 60 years old, eagles will go out completely on their own and they will literally shed all of their feathers. Not
shed, they pluck it. They rip it out of their own body.
Yeah, it's pretty aggressive.
Yeah. And then their beak?
And then their beak breaks.
It doesn't just break, they smash it against a rock.
I know, it hurts me to say it because it hurts.
They shatter their own beak.
So they literally destroy themselves. And then like a phoenix rising from the ashes, they come back with a stronger beak, more beautiful plumage, and are just these boss creatures, and they come back in this fully renewed version of themselves.
100%. If you ever see a symbolism of an eagle with 2 heads, that's what it's basically a phoenix.
Yeah.
I mean, most eagles that you see like on our money and on our seal, like the American seal, it's a phoenix.
Right. Well, it's like, okay, so you've seen the image of an eagle with a snake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Snake, Scorpio.
Eagle, Scorpio.
Eagle is mastering the transformation.
Yeah, and the lower nature, like that more venomous.
It's literally destroying that transformation, that ego.
Yeah.
Releasing it.
Scorpio's fascinating.
Rising from the ashes. Scorpios are so freaking cool.
I mean, we all have Scorpio energy.
We do.
We all have Scorpio energy. And the thing with Scorpio is it's our generative system.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we're in our villain era, so it's fine.
We can say whatever we want. No, look, Scorpio in the physical body, Scorpio is your reproductive centers.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot of make or break power in those centers of, am I going to become Judas Iscariot or am I going to rise like the phoenix? So pretty fascinating
Depends
sign.
on the day and how much sleep I got.
And if the children woke you up at 4.
And if the coffee is coffeeing. Okay. So, where are we at?
Next parallel.
Let's talk about halos, right? If you look at any more Renaissance to, what's the before the Renaissance? It's the Dark Ages, right?
Mm-hmm. Medieval?
Yeah, medieval. A lot of older paintings, anyone that becomes a saint has this circular halo, just bright light behind them. And it's a symbol of the sun and of angels basically becoming as powerful and as bright as the sun. A lot of Christianity, you can argue, started with and has become very focused around sun worship.
100%.
100%. So Christianity is basically sun worship, only confuddled and distorted.
It really is. I mean, even look at the leaders of the Christian church. Look at the popes. Look at the bishops. See what they wear. Mm-hmm. They're all dripping in gold. Uh-huh. Gold is the element of the sun. It is physical sunlight.
Exactly.
They carry staffs with sun imagery on it. Their crosses have sun imagery.
How very Egyptian of them.
Right? There's sun worship all throughout the Catholic Church. And yeah, Christ becomes the sun.
The sun, S-U-N, because he's the son of God. Son,
Exactly.
S-O-N.
I learned something else fascinating. I'm reading this book by Manly P. Hall, and he talks about the Trinity is in the sun because it is. Uh-huh. And the Trinity, you have sunrise, God the Father. You have midday, God the Son, and then you have sunset, God the Holy Spirit. And each of them have a color, like sunrise is blue, midday is yellow, sunset is red. Weird that those are the primary colors.
Weird. Also,
Also,
Holy Spirit can also be interpreted as the Holy Mother or Divine Feminine.
Yeah.
Which, of course, they're red. Of course, they're red.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, you need the three. Mother, Father, Son.
The parallels are so much, people.
So many.
When you start looking at things a little less literal, it unlocks a whole new door to you. So with all this in mind, I want you to look at the image of the Last Supper.
Last Supper image.
Pause, pull it up on your phone, do what you need to.
We can't.
We have no internet. But look at the image. What you'll see is Christ, or the Son, is literally at the center of the table, and his 12 apostles are gathered in groups of 3, 6 on each side of him. So the groups of 3 are the 3 zodiac signs of each season. What? So you have the spring, the summer, the fall, the winter. You have all 12 represented on this table. And then again, if you go back to the figure on his right is a feminine looking figure. That's because it's Virgo, the Virgin.
What?
Anyways, so this is what it's telling us. It's literally the Last Supper image is saying, look, here is the sun, here are the zodiacs, here are the seasons.
Uh-huh. Because that's the thing. The sun, we talked a lot about the moon being an insanely powerful celestial being. The sun really is the center of the universe.
It's life.
It's life. Without the sun, life would be impossible. And because all the other planets, because the zodiacs, everything else rotates around the sun, of course it makes sense that the sun would be in the center of all these 12 figures. Also, just the numerology of 12 and 3 and 3, 6 and 6.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild. But okay, so the reason we did this episode was to talk about the Summer Olympics, Dionysus, all that ish. So let's talk some more about Dionysus, the god of wine. What other gods do we know? Or, deities do we know that deal with wine?
I don't know. Maybe when Christ turned water into wine.
What?
Or maybe when he told them at the Last Supper, drink of this wine, for it's my blood. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't drink wine because our sacrament was little cups of water.
Yeah, they're little cups.
I was always told that
What?
that wine in Jesus's day was just grape juice. It hadn't fermented. It just meant grape juice. It wasn't actually alcoholic, which, come on. Anyways.
See, and then I think of, because I'm such a freaking nerd, I think of Seamus Finnegan from Harry Potter trying to turn his water into wine.
Stop it.
Actually, in the movie, he doesn't do that. He tries to turn it into rum.
I would choose,
Rum over wine?
wine now. I would have chosen rum like when we first started drinking. Rum was my go-to, but
What's the rum called?
I love wine.
I
That
do
is
love
like
it
the
too.
only
I love
alcohol I will drink
Yeah.
from at this point.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, with this new understanding, Dionysus is a Greek personification of these same teachings. Dionysus myth. Let's go into his story.
Yeah, and
In
just to
his-
clear up any confusion, Dionysus is the name of this god in Greek mythology.
Yes.
Bacchus is the Roman equivalent. So, yeah, Bacchus is Roman, the same like with Heracles and Hercules.
Exactly.
Yeah, this mythology got so interwoven into Roman culture that they're basically
did.
the same.
It did.
Hades is Pluto, Zeus and Jupiter. Like, yeah.
For my Disney culture people, Dionysus is the god in Hercules who's purple and has all the grapes, and
He's also in Fantasia.
he's also in Fantasia.
the little
first
fat guy that
Fantasia.
rides the donkey.
That rides the donkey. And he brings this beautiful party of wine and joyous celebration
Mm-hmm.
to the centaurs and the nymphs and the Pegasus. Pegasi?
Pegasi?
Pegasi.
We don't have internet. We can't look it up.
We don't.
Don't blame us.
So let's start with the story. As it always does, with Zeus falling in love with a mortal. Because of course he does.
Zeus be Zeusin.
Zeus be freaking Zeusin. So he has this infatuation with a mortal woman named Semele.
Yes.
And she is a mortal of great beauty because that's all Zeus cares about. So he's known for his many love affairs, disguised himself to lend her affection because man over the bear. So they're like, I don't
You're
like
getting
Zeus.
flustered talking
I don't
about
like
Zeus.
He frustrates me. He is all toxic masculinity, but then he does some semi-cool things sometimes. I digress.
I think my understanding of Zeus is thinking again about the sun being the supreme god. The sun is going to impregnate all sorts of mortals.
Sure.
Earth,
Sure.
But
he's not the sun. He's not the sun.
He's
the biggest planet.
He's called the Demiurgus, is what he's called. But yeah.
I think he's just got little man syndrome, and he's just upset he's not Apollo, so he has to go make himself a big deal.
So Zeus be Zeusin falls
Zeus
in
be
love with a
Zeusin.
beautiful mortal woman.
And she gets pregnant with Dionysus.
Yep.
However, because Zeus be Zeusin, Hera be harrying. Hera. She's upset.
She's jealous.
She's jealous.
She's furious.
Yes. So she's jealous, suspicious of Semele's relationship with Zeus. So she decides to use her vulnerability and deceive her into doubting Zeus's divine identity. Because he's not being honest and he's not...
Because he doesn't appear to her as Zeus. He
No.
never appears to these women as himself.
Because he can't. They would literally implode.
Yeah, his divine glory would be too much for them.
He's too awesome. With his awesomeness.
But that's what happens.
Exactly. So she doesn't realize she's sleeping with Zeus. Anyway, Fueled by her doubts, Semele insists that Zeus reveal himself, unknowingly sealing her tragic fate. Oh my gosh, Hera, you sick weirdo. Unable to refuse his beloved's request, Zeus appears before Semele in all his divine glory, and she perishes in a blaze of fire. You really don't want me to do this, babe. I promise.
You don't want to see my true self.
You don't want to see how awesome I am. Yes, I do. I love you.
Flames.
But don't worry. The baby's fine.
Yeah, the baby's okay.
The baby's fine because it's a Zeus baby. However, Zeus managed to rescue the unborn Dionysus by sewing him to his thigh.
Into his thigh.
Like he opens up his thigh and puts the baby in there.
Yeah.
Sews it up again.
So he can gestate longer.
Yeah. Because when you're a god, it has to be fully cooked.
And god thighs are the same as mortal wombs.
This is Zeus thighs. He doesn't skip on leg day.
Never.
He hits the gym in between all his love affairs. Idiot. Anyway. So, this extraordinary birth of Dionysus, woman and Zeus' thigh, makes him twice born.
Yep.
From both god and mortal. Huh. Like someone else we know.
Like Heracles. Go look at that episode.
Like Heracles.
It's great.
Or Christ.
Or Christ, you know. Half mortal, half god.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's so much duality in nature, embodying both earthly and divine realms. And this duality is going to define a lot of his characteristics and his symbolism in all of his stories, in his, his deity-ness?
Yeah. That works.
That works. That's a word. That's
Divinity.
Divinity.
Yeah.
So he embodies harmonious coexistence of opposites, such as joy and sorrow, chaos and order, intoxication and sobriety. I feel like that's just drinking in general. Joy and sorrow, chaos and order.
Yeah.
This duality extends to his role as a god, associated with wine, celebration, ecstasy, and even the darker aspects of madness and divine frenzy.
Yeah. Dionysus is fascinating, and it's been so fun looking at him because he is those polar opposites. Duality, polarity, those topics. He embodies them. It's kind of like Heracles, where he's got this higher self and then this lower self, where he's destructive and chaotic and vengeful.
I mean, you were born out of a god's thigh.
I mean, you definitely got some birth trauma. Oh, man. But the most fascinating thing about Dionysus is he is actually used in a mystery school. Now, what I mean by a mystery school or a school of mysteries
Hogwarts.
is his myth, and the next story I'm about to share with you of Dionysus is used to teach students or initiates about higher concepts of reality. Now, an initiate is, going back to Freemasonry, that's what you'd be doing. You would be going through the Freemason order to reach the 33rd degree or whatever degree it is, to learn these secrets. And they guard these secrets from what they call the profane or the ignorant. Anyways, so what happens here, this story that they would use to teach these mysteries, is Hera is obviously upset that Dionysus even exists. And so she...
You should be used to it by now.
She has a full-time job. Torturing the illegitimate children of her husband. That is all she does. She talks to monsters and convinces them to harass.
A god of therapy they could go visit. I mean, maybe it's because you're siblings. I don't know.
Right. But seriously, don't cross Hera because she won't let it go. She won't let it go. So she finds these 12 titans, these 12 evil titans.
Goddess of monsters.
And she convinces them to kill Dionysus. And so what these titans do is they show Dionysus a mirror, and he looks into this mirror and he gets so enamored by his own reflection, kind of like Narcissus, kind of like, anyways, more examples, but they might be too much.
He's pretty.
He gets so enamored in his own reflection that he's distracted, and while he's looking at himself in the mirror, these titans murder him. They don't just murder him.
No.
They tear him to pieces. And then they take the pieces, they boil them in water, which symbolizes being immersed in this physical reality. And then they burn the pieces, they cook them, which is a symbolism of the ascension, you know, because when you burn things, it goes up.
And then what?
And then they devour him, his body, all except for his heart, though. They can't touch his heart. His heart is actually saved by Athena.
Because, of course.
Yeah, but his heart needs to stay because, you know, our heart is a crucial piece in this whole system. That's why, again, another parallel, Christ and the burning heart, like he's pointing at his heart. It's through the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about the chakras, guys, everything lines up. If you look at the lower chakras, it's the reproductive center, the survival center, the
food center.
Yeah. You have to ascend through those lower three inferior chakras, through the heart chakra, in order to reach the higher ones. And
and I just think of these prayer candles that you see like at $1 because you use them for like prayer candles, and every single time there's like a little picture of Christ doing his thing, and then he's got the burning heart every time.
The flaming heart. It's all through the heart.
Also, can we talk about the fact that Athena is just like, yeah, okay, so they're going to tear him apart. They're just ripping his body, boiling it. Then they're eating it. I better just grab the heart, you know, just in case.
She keeps it safe. But it's because she saves his heart that he's actually able to be resurrected. And it's through this resurrection process that the student or the initiate would learn the secrets of how to become their true self, their higher self, their full potential. Anyways, Zeus sees these titans devouring Dionysus, his thigh-birthed child. He's so upset that he lightning bolts them, burns them to ashes. And there's many stories on how man came into existence.
Yeah.
But this is one of those stories that humankind then comes from the ashes of these titans, which symbolizes that us as humans, we are made of this darker, evil titan self. But these titans had just devoured the flesh of the god. And so we also have this higher, divine, immortal self that is in our essence as well.
Humans are very dual beings.
We are. That's why most of these stories of like the half god children are really symbolizing us. So Heracles, his story, Dionysus, his story. Anyways, fascinating thing about this is they would use wine and mind-altering substances to help the students to reach the desired state of mind, to understand these concepts. We haven't talked about psychedelics on this podcast,
Not
but
yet.
I would love to. If you know, you know. But it can't just be, it has to be in the right setting, right? Go watch Have a Good Trip on Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah. But so these teachers would use these substances to help the initiate reach these higher states of mind, of consciousness, of understanding, and they would take them through the mysteries. The fascinating thing about this is over time, the higher truths were lost. The mysteries were lost. And they devolved into what is called bacchanalias, which is what the Olympics said this recreation was.
Bacchus?
Yeah,
Roman?
Bacchus,
Olympics?
Roman, Greek, anyways. So it devolved into just a full-on sensual ecstasy, like, you know, just party. Just, there was no higher meaning to it. It was basically eat, drink, and be merry and have a good time. It devolved into that because the profane, which... Anyways, I'm going to digress.
It goes back to that duality. It goes back to that duality. And I personally just love the way of the Buddha, where it's that middle path, where it's, if you are so scared of the world that you live in, that you completely isolate yourself and don't experience this life, then you're going to miss out on experiences that are going to make you a better person. Whereas if you completely overindulge into everything, it'll bring out the most toxic traits of you and will end up... bring the darker parts of your life into light. So it really is that middle path of trying to find the right balance of duality.
And that's what happened here. So it lost the higher meaning and it became just orgies. Like, and they would last for days. I was reading that they were banned in Italy because it was just drug-fueled chaos. And
I believe that.
And that's what it became.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
How European.
but what it does is it really shows, again, Scorpio,
Yeah.
as we were talking earlier, the generative centers, it's a powerful center, and you can either rise through it and above it, or you can let it control yourself and be lost to it. And yeah, the Bacchanalias were lost to it.
Exactly. And so going back to why people may have been so offended by this depiction of the Last Supper, Dionysus, and a lot of it, I think, has to be based on the homage of the painting depicted as one of these Bacchanalia. So putting that and the Last Supper of Christ together, especially for those of Christian belief, that can be offensive.
It can.
I can understand that. I can understand why that would be offensive. But then also looking at this Christ figure of Dionysus being depicted at the Last Supper in a very ancient Greek event like the Olympics by the French, who don't give any cares.
They don't.
That makes sense to me as well. I'm not here to tell you whether or not you should have been offended by this interpretation. I'm bugged because I can't watch the opening ceremonies anywhere because...
Yeah, they've like pulled it off of YouTube because
pulled it
everyone's
off.
got so fired up about it.
Because people are so angry. And not to be controversial, are we really angry because it's a Greek god depiction, or is it because it's in drag?
You know, I would argue it's because it's in drag. Because like we mentioned at the beginning of this, everything under the sun has recreated the Last Supper. Everything. Every offensive material has recreated this.
Yes.
But drag, that's another level.
Oh no.
The reason for that is, and I was actually listening to an audiobook today while we were working on some yard work up here at the cabin, called How Fascism Works. Drag, transgender, and homosexuality are the biggest threats to a fascist state because the cornerstone or the keystone or whatever, the most important stone you want to call it,
The philosopher's stone?
to fascism is the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Because in a fascist state, the leader, the dictator, is the father of the nation, the
Right.
demagogue of the nation. And so if you're not going to fall into those quote unquote traditional values, then you are bucking the system. Now, the reason drag, transgenders, and homosexuals are the most threatening to the patriarchy is because their birthright was the patriarchy, and they have rejected it. And in rejecting the patriarchy, they are a huge threat to the fascist state. Because why would you not want to be the patriarchal leader in a like what's wrong with you?
It's so funny to me. I feel like drag wasn't as big a deal. Arnold Schwarzenegger has a fantastic film where he's in drag the whole time.
Robin
Williams and Nathan Lane. You have Julie Andrews was in drag. Liza Minnelli has been in drag. Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah.
Like, we have all these films where it's portrayed in a comedy. It's not a problem. But if you portray it in an artistic
Or an empowering
way, then it's an issue. It's just the irony of it is so silly, especially with France being such a beautiful representation of enlightenment and growth and renaissance and revolution. They're not going to care about whether they offend people.
No.
They're not going to care about that. Not to mention they can see all these different symbolisms and all these different isms, I guess you could call them, of this representation. And being in drag, I think also is just a beautiful way of inclusivity.
Yeah. And another thing on France is they're so much older than us.
They're so much older.
They've been
than
around
us.
the block. We were talking
block.
Stop it. We were talking about it earlier. We are children. Like the United
gosh.
States, we're like the obnoxious teenager that is just dying for their parents' approval, of the attention of the world. It's like, look how great we are. And then you get these older European countries and they're like, yeah, neat. Like,
Cool. Have you seen all of our castles and our years of
History.
revolution and history and art?
Yeah.
Good
and
job.
development. Like, go to the Louvre. Like, do you think French people don't understand symbolism in art when they are steeped in it.
It's literally anywhere you go in Europe. There's just, it's on the roads. It's in everything that they have is so artistically based. And the United States artistic base is very capitalistic. IKEA. Not even, IKEA's Norwegian. So
I know, but what I mean is just like mass produced, because that's what made IKEA like so successful, is they found a way to mass produce furniture at no cost.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the best way that you described it was French culture is very old money. And United States is very new money.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, cool, look, we have our own country. We have our own things. We're so great. Look at all the things we can do.
Yeah.
It's like, yep. Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yep, that's good for you.
Tell me how that works out for you.
Cool. I love that we're at the same party. That's awesome. That's awesome for us.
I'm going to sip my wine and hopefully you go away.
Right?
Because I don't want to be offensive.
Because they've had so many more years of development, and we can argue all day politically on who's right, who's wrong. I don't want to dive into that. I'm thinking just culturally, the way that their mindset is so beautifully based on how to live your life in a more authentic way and living it for pure joy. In Emily in Paris, it's this Netflix show. She's this social media person who just jumps into this French market, right?
Okay.
And she's grinding, trying to work all these hours, trying to make this happen. And all these French people are like, what are you doing? Why? We don't care about this. We're already making money. You're just doing the job. That's all. Just, you're breaking your back over something that doesn't need to happen.
Yeah.
And she just can't wrap her head around it. She's like, but this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you live to work. We work so that we can live and enjoy the beautiful things around us. And I think that's just a different mentality. I feel like Americans are still in that hustle phase.
Oh, absolutely.
And maybe it's time to get into our Aquarius state of mind.
I would love that because we are definitely in a toxic productivity culture, country, society. It's just so fueled by capitalism. Just so fueled by how to squeeze the most money out of the least value. Yeah. That's all
Biggest
it is.
bang for your buck.
Yeah. I was thinking about it the other day. When I was in grade school, I remember sitting in a class having a discussion in seminary, of all places,
interesting,
about minimum wage. And I remember one student really just being like, no, we can't raise minimum wage, because if we raise minimum wage, then they're going to start raising the prices on everything. We're not going to have a dollar menu anymore because fast food is not going to, they'll have to raise the prices in order for, and it's like the prices have gone up and
Where's
minimum wage
menu?
hasn't.
I want my dollar code.
Yeah, did you know
Arctic
minimum
Circle.
wage is still $7 an hour? Yeah, federal minimum wage is still $7 an hour.
Yikes.
And it's not. They're just squeezing money out of the least amount of value. I'm so blessed to be where I am and to have the life I have, but oh man, America is not what it's cut out to be, people. It has been hijacked.
But I am very hopeful. I'm very hopeful because I think so many people are wanting to enjoy their life more and expect more of themselves and of their lives. So I don't feel as though this is going to be a forever thing.
I sure
or we
hope
just move
not.
to France.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I've seen so many TikToks like the new American dream is to leave it. It's like felt.
Or to get off the grid and homestead.
Felt. Literally, we're up here at this cabin, no service. 2 cabins down, there's a millennial couple with 6 goats and 10 chickens and
turkeys
and they live up
dogs.
here full time. And it's like, felt.
Like that. Do I want this? I kind of want this.
Anyways, we're rattling now. We are getting onto some soapboxes. Let's
guys.
leave our listeners with a challenge.
Yes. So our challenge to you this week, in the spirit of Dionysus and of supporting the Olympics and all the fun things, look at something that may have offended you in the past or offends you now, and try and see if there's 7 layers deeper of cheese and sour cream and guac and all
Yeah,
the
get
things.
deeper with it.
Well, there's probably some good nuggets in there if you choose not to be completely offended. I'm going to try it this week with something, and I'm not super excited about it, but I'm going to try it anyway.
And she will return and report.
Yes.
Oh, man. Look at something that offends you. See what you're missing.
And on that note...
We will bid you adieu. Is that French?
Adieu? No, that's German.
Damn it.
Isn't it?
No.
No. Yes. I don't have internet.
We don't have the internet.
Wow, that's the most millennial thing I could say. I don't know anything.
Thank you so much for joining us today on this episode. While we are in the middle of the woods with no internet, late at night, with rantings and ravings. Love you so much.